So I'm going to indulge myself here and do some videos on the Lady Shirley. I built this boat about 30 years ago, and that was before I ever started making videos properly. But I found all of this old material. So this is 30 years old. These plans are now on my website, but they look a bit worse for wear. And I videoed the build of this. I couldn't believe that I did it, but there it is. So I'm going to indulge myself here and just enjoy this, because this was the second scratch-built boat I made. And the joy of building this is there still. The planks are cedar that I ripped off a doorstep. I used my saw and just ripped down all these thin planks. And this was very much an experiment. But the baseboard, as you can see, is the same, exactly the same technique that I use now. And I'm using these lovely cedar planks. And the thing that I remember about doing this was just constantly looking at it and seeing the beautiful lines of the boat and thinking, oh, it's developing. And the smell of the cedar was also there in the air all the time. Until finally, as you can see, it's now complete. And it was very exciting. I'm not trying to plank it properly. This is just a base for fiberglassing. And all of this is an experiment. That stern part looks a bit odd, but in the end, I got it right. And of course, the prop shaft is in, so I had all of those sorts of ideas in place. Looks pretty rough, and it's going to need a fair bit of sanding to get it right. But it's starting to happen, and it certainly is all square. So this is after the fiberglass has gone on, and I think I've also started to put some bog onto it, some car body filler, and it's all starting to happen. The shed that I've got here is very old. It's turn of the century, of the 20th century, and it used to be an old factory, and I was very happy to have it. So I've given it now a grey coat of grey primer, and you can see it's really starting to take shape. Boat's looking lovely, and I'm just thrilled with every part of this process. It's a great big shed that I used to have when I built this. And I used to come into the shed at this point and just look at it over and over and think, oh, this is so nice. I think there's something about giving birth to a boat that really can't be matched by any other hobby. You're really giving something life again, and the lines and the hull of these beautiful vessels are just lovely to see being refreshed. I've been doing some work here, as you can see, around the prop and where the prop comes out. And here I've got the saw out and I'm cutting it off, and there it is. And this is pretty much like a birth experience, I think. I put those holes in the middle of those formers because I thought I might keep them in. But I realized as I went on that in fact the fiberglass was so strong I didn't need any of them. So I started popping them out, and it was pretty much an experiment as I went, and gradually realized that they could all come out. There wasn't much necessary inside the hull, which meant then, of course, I needed to seal the inside of those planks as well. But this hull has plenty of room in it, as you can see. I mean, it is a fishing vessel. It is designed to hold a lot of material. And I'm not sure what that was, but I was using, that's one of my first examples of using aluminium alfoil. But there it is. Now the forecastle is in place, and it's starting to look really quite nice. That inner frame is in place. When I see this now, I'm seeing no different to what I've done with my latest boat, Scuffy. It's actually the same process. And as you can see, I was building the motors in there, putting the decks in place, getting everything lining up, looking right. I remember at one point feeling a bit panicky. I mean, there's so much work to be done on a boat like this. But, you know, the most important thing are these wonderful lines. How lovely is that? The bow on this boat is terrific. As I said to you, the plans are now on my website, and you can get them if you wish. Just gorgeous, isn't it? Now there we have the hawse pipe in place and the beginning of the superstructure. And I'm just making this out of ply. And I've cut the slots into the side of the hull, and the stern deck is in place, and I'm using fiberglass here, but that was not successful down the sides. I discovered I was going to cut the architecture into the sides of that, but it was simply never going to work. So here it is, and now we have the frame for the rudder in place. I've now got the funnel in place, and constantly coming back and thinking, look at it, it's actually happening. And it's really good when you scratch build a boat to do this kind of thing. It looks a bit Titanic-esque there, because you come in and you check the lines of everything and make sure it's okay. Now this is where I came up with the idea of using aluminium flashing for the plates on the hull, recognizing that it was going to make it look really stunning. If anything, it was going to over-represent the plates, but I was quite happy to do that because it was going to be so damned effective. I've even got them on the forecastle, as you can see. Now the thing about it was, someone said to me in those early days that given the expansion and contraction of aluminium in comparison to the fiberglass, that I would find that they would come off. This is about 30 years later and they haven't come off, so that has proven to be incorrect. But you can see the plates are over-represented. They've all got rivets in them, rivet heads, and honestly, it's one of the features of this boat. I just think it looks gorgeous the way they are. So I'm indulging myself, coming in, looking at all of this and thinking, oh, look, we've got portholes now. When you scratch build, every new part that you do is extraordinary. You just feel so good about it. And of course now it's being transformed, and we've got the lovely black. Of course you do whatever the lighter color is, whether it's above the waterline or below, you do that first. And so now it's starting to look a bit more like a boat. Of course it's got the yellow around the bridge, because these were known as banana boats because of that yellow. Strange thing, really. And there's green on the top of the forecastle. And now we have the nice white strip down the side of the boat, which is really designed to make this thing look pretty stunning. And it does look stunning, doesn't it? It looks lovely. I've got to get that a little bit better. And of course the latter versions of the boat, all of that is really, really straight and true. But it's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. And this is its first maiden run. And I discovered pretty quickly that my homemade propeller on a 545 motor turned this thing along like a speedboat. Now that of course is far too fast for this model, but it's nice to have a burst of speed if you get into trouble. The trick is not to use it. Now that is it beginning to look lovely. I've got these great gantries where the nets go in. They're all done. I've got the boats on the back, and here it is now coming toward us on the lake, and it's looking pretty good. I was pretty pleased with this.